Hi everybody, it is 9:45 on January 2nd, 2026, and this is
1 hour love letter.
the best man I've ever dated and the shortest relationship I've ever had. But he treated me beautifully, and I love him for it.
So I just posted a reel about how last week when I saw Star-Lord, I completely fritzed and just like ran away. I have a real story. This past week on Thursday, I was at a trivia night by myself, and this guy that I had met at last month's trivia was also there. I bumped into him a couple of times between these two trivias, and I went to go say goodbye to him as I was leaving, and the last thing he said to me was, "Can I just tell you that I came here tonight because I was hoping to see you?" And instead of acting normal and just being like, "Yeah, I'm glad to see you too. Here's my number," I said, "Well, you should come to more events and then we'll see each other." And I ran out. So that has been living completely rent-free in my head for the last 2 days. I've had like stomach aches just thinking about it. I don't know if it's butterflies or whatever. And I had thought he was gonna ask for my number earlier in the night because I accidentally let slip that I was single. Because we were playing a game on guess that logo or name that logo, and I did like boo at a dating app, and he's like, "Oh, why?" I was like, "Because dating apps suck," and he's like, "How do you meet people?" And I'm like, "I don't." And I mentioned that I had met two other people there before, and he said, "How'd that go?" And I was like, "They didn't work out." And all of a sudden, he was like, "I got some personal questions for you if you don't mind." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." And I was like texting my friend and playing games on my phone at the time. In hindsight, I should have put my phone down and looked him in the eye. Some backstory about this guy. Back in October, my friend and I went to our bar, and because one of her friends were serving there as a vendor, and there were these guys playing a board game inside, and I saw one of them come out, and I was like, "Hey, what are you guys playing?" And then I chatted with him a little bit, and the next night, or the same night on Instagram, I had seen that the bar had reposted the guy's like story of them being there that night. So I DM'd that guy and I was like, "Hey, I don't have much to do. I would love to join game night. I understand if it's like just between coworkers, like you could say no, totally, it's fine if not, you know." And then like a few days after October's trivia night, and I'm alone. My friends weren't able to make it, so I see these three guys by themselves, and I'm like, "Hey, can I join you guys?" So these three guys, one of them was engaged, and one of them was his future brother-in-law, and the last one is that guy's coworker. So two of them are coworkers, and those are the two who were, I assume, single because they didn't say anything. But you know, I wasn't gonna say anything. And they were cute. I was kind of interested in like just talking to them. I actually liked the white guy more than I liked the Korean guy, but I was interested in like getting to know both of them because like who am I to judge, right? Because the white guy was sitting in front of me, so like we were talking more. And then the Korean guy, he had mentioned like, "Oh, I knew about this place because my friend was here playing board games the other night." I was like, "Are they playing that one Predator game?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, I DM'd him trying to join in, and he's like, "Let me text him for you," and he did. And I got invited to game night after that, so that was great. So the game night guy, he invited me to a game, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the Korean guy's gonna be there too." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, awesome, cool. Like I get to talk to him more." I was like thinking about like maybe I could ask him if his coworker's single, but I didn't do that because he was busy. He was working. And I just like I went over and chatted with him. He didn't play the games. He was just there to work and like hang out and drink. But I did like just sit down with him and just be like, "Hey, how you doing? How you going? How's it going?" and stuff, right? Oh yeah, and before trivia night ended in October, I was like, "See you guys next month," because I was like, I really wanted to see both of them next month. I actually didn't think the Korean guy was interested in me because he seemed a little bit standoffish and aloof, which I am too because I'm Asian, and we're not that like talkative usually.
Hello, some context from future me now that I have the answers. So, the white guy that was sitting in front of me, the brother in law of the engaged guy, he was not single. He has a girlfriend. But the Korean guy was single. And I found out after the fact that they were both trying to keep me at the table because the Korean guy had gone outside. They were trying to keep me at the table so I could go talk to him somewhere. And they thought that he and I had vibed, which I did not think so because I was chatting with his friend all night. And then on that first game night, so he actually just told me this as I just saw him, that he loved that. As I was coming in during the breaks of that game night, he was coming out and we met, like bumped into each other literally in the doorway. And I said, hi, his name. And he said he thought to himself, he's like, I didn't give her my name. But I had made an emphasis of asking the other two guys, like, what are all your names? That way I can remember them, in the future. And it's just the type of person that I am to want to remember people's names. And then later in that night, I think we had a second break. I went inside and sat next to him at his table. I sat at one of the empty chairs and I was just like, hey, how's it going? Oh, I see you're working. How, like, what are you working on? And stuff like that. And I chatted with him. And he thanked me for doing that. And that's kind of like what brought him to me from, by me doing that and sitting at their trivia table back in October. Also, the last thing I did when I left game night was I was parked next to him, and he was parked horribly, so I had to squeeze into that spot. So he was standing by his car when I was leaving, and I was like, is this your car? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, you parked so horribly. And he was like, oh, the car next to me was really, really diagonal, like over the line, so I had to park like that. I was like, well, it's difficult for me to get in and out. And then I left, and he told me later that his friend who he was with was like, I can't tell if she's like being mean to you or flirting with you, which I was doing a little bit of both. Mostly I was just kind of like trolling him, but it was a little bit of a flirt.
I feel like I should be including like the dates and like how much time has been transpiring between these, but I don't have my calendar on me right now. Okay, so this week's trivia night. I get there and my friends weren't available. They were going to, they said maybe, but they ended up not coming. So I just saw this guy by himself and I was like, hey, can I join you? And then like in round two, uh, I'm like facing the other direction and the guy next to me is the Korean guy and he's like, hey, were you here the whole time? I was like, yeah, I joined their team though. I should have been like, I would have joined yours if I saw you first, but I sat down next to him and I didn't even notice him because his back was to me. Anyway, we just like chatted during the night while like between rounds and stuff of trivia. By the way, my team got second place by 1 point.
Turns out the team that beat us by 1 point was the team that he was on that I helped. I told him how much a gross was, which is 144, and my team lost. We could have won by 1 point because one of our bonus answers, we forgot to fill it out even though we knew the answer. So that was worth 2 points, which means we would have won by 1 point instead of losing by one.
So this guy, after finding out I was single, he was like, I have some personal questions to ask you. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I have 2 questions, actually, maybe 3. And then he was like, first, how do you spell your name? And I'm like, with the C, like the Queen, Catherine the Great. I didn't say Catherine the Great, I just said like the Queen. And then, and she was like, and then he like repeated my name because he was like, yeah, it's a pretty name. And then the second question, he's like, what are you drinking? And I'm like, it smells, it's like, it's the honeydew, coconut, whatever. And I was like, it tastes like Malona. And then he was like, oh, like, does it smell like Malona? That was his third question because I think he chickened out because I kind of like, I felt like I knew what he was going to ask. And then at one point, he also asked me what book I was reading. And then he like took it and like read a page. I was like, are you actually reading it? And he's like, yeah, I'm just interested in what you're doing. I'm so stupid.
He asked me for how to spell my name because a month ago He wrote my name down in his journal. He has one of those like 5 days, 5 years journals where you write something for each day for 5 years, like all 5 years is on one page. And he wrote my name down a month ago, but he spelled it the modern way, like Kathryn. And he said that as soon as I said, like, the Queen, he thought to himself, like, of course that's how you spell her name. Like, she's like, she seems so classic, and like, that's how you spell her name. And the book I was reading was King of Scars. Um, I had finished reading, I think, The Map That Leads to You, the movie with AJ Kappa on Amazon Prime. I had finished reading that book at the beginning of November, and I started King of Scars. And this is November, I think 6th was this trivia night, reading King of Scars like a few days into November. And let's just say I didn't finish reading it until the next month because I spent all of my time with him.
During all of this, like, I'm very open to it because, like, I'm fine. I'm not a private. I am a private person, but none of that stuff is private information. Like, what book I'm reading, what I'm drinking, and stuff like that, right? I thought maybe he was gonna order a drink for me or something like that, and I really thought his third questions was gonna be like, "Can I have your number? Do you want to go out sometime?" It was not. You probably chickened out. It was my fault for being on my phone instead of like looking at him while he was speaking to me. That is on me. Yeah, so at the end of the night when he said that, I was also expecting him to ask for my number. And if he had asked, I would have been like, how old are you? Do you smoke? Because those two things are important to me. And he didn't. And he said what he said. And I just was like, well, you should come to game night more. I won't be here in December for trivia, but I'll see you around. Goodbye. So all of this has been living rent-free in my head all of Friday because I've got nothing better to do, and it's all I thought about yesterday. And I'm like, okay, here's what I would have done, here's what I should have said. But then on the other hand, something I'm scared about is I have this problem where it's very easy for someone to fall in love with the idea of me because I'm really funny, I'm really engaging, and when someone speaks to me, I look them in the eye and I listen and I respond and stuff like that. So like if I'm giving you my full attention, you're like, oh my god, I feel like I'm talking to someone super important. And the other thing is like, if that is reciprocated for me, then I'm also winning. But if it's not reciprocated for me, it's why I'm still single.
So, what's really funny is after I went out with him, he was actually the first person to say that people fall for him really easily. And then I basically told him, all the things I just said in that clip about why people fall for me. And it's crazy that we both have that effect on people. And the rest of the story that I'm going to tell is me telling you that he did reciprocate all of the things that I said I wanted reciprocated in a loving relationship.
Also, I know from like general personal experience that guys don't usually take interest unless they're interested, right? I forgot how it had come up. We were talking about how we were talking about how like I was really lucky and fortunate, and like a lot of good things happened to me. He says like, "What? How do you react when it's bad?" And I said that like, as long as I've done everything I could in my power and like thought of all the things and double checked everything, something goes wrong, it's fine. But if I had put my trust in someone and relied on them, like that suitcase situation where my partner was like, this is a carry-on size, and then the flight attendant was like, your brand new suitcase is not a carry-on size. And I didn't buy a cover for it, and I just fell apart. I had like almost had a tantrum in the airport. And I didn't say that specifically. I was just like, when I put my trust in someone and they fail me, I think I'm allowed to react how I want to react. My exact words were actually, I'm allowed to be as mad as I want to be. And he actually repeated that back to me and asked me to elaborate. And I basically said, like, I'm allowed to be reactive if you failed me, because I could have personally gone on the website and checked for the carry-on size restrictions, but I didn't because I trusted that person's word. And yeah, it was quite an upsetting situation. But like, he was like repeating it back to me, and he's like, I'm very surprised. I've never heard someone say exactly what they mean when they like what they actually felt. And I couldn't tell. I was like so nervous. I was like, is this good or bad? Is this good or bad? Like, am I a red flag? I didn't say the red flag part, but I was like, is this good or bad? I can't tell if you're having a positive or negative reaction to it. And he's like, no, it's just really interesting. And I was like, he's gonna think I'm a red flag already. And we just barely started talking.
From the time that we've been together, he's been so amazing in helping me with my worries and things that I am not sure about. Anything that I have a question about, he'll say, if he doesn't know it, he'll just say, I'm not sure, let's look it up, and then pull out his phone. And at no point did he do something that my ex did, which is, you're wrong, let me pull it up and prove you wrong. Actually, two of my exes did that. He never did that, but he always looked things up if I wasn't sure. It was to a point where I never had my phone out when I was with him, and anything that I had to look up used his phone. Like, his Google searches must be so wild and different and varied. Also because like my brain is going a million miles a minute. Like earlier we were talking, having a serious conversation, and I'm looking out the window and I see the windmill outside my house and it's not moving. And I said, there's no wind tonight. And he kind of laughed and he's like, it's crazy how you can just be like, oh, there's no wind tonight, and then focus back on our serious conversation. It's just, thanks.
So the point of the story is, I don't know how to talk to guys anymore. I haven't dated in so long. I don't know what to do anymore. And like, you think I would be used to it. I mean, I used to be used to it, but it's been so long since I like actually talked to a man. Like, talk to a man. I don't know what to do anymore. I told one friend the story and she's like, get your head in the game. And she's right. But how does one do that? I saw Star-Lord and I freaked out. Like, it's the opposite of cooked. Whatever the cooked means, it's the opposite of that.
It's been like an hour since then, and my hair has dropped. Like, it was up to here. Because I went to the mall and tried on some clothes, and I sat next to him, not on purpose. I didn't see him when I arrived. And when I went to go say goodbye to him as I was leaving, he said to me, is it bad that I came here tonight because I knew you would be here? And I short-circuited. Not verbal, not, you couldn't tell that I had physically I mentally short-circuited. I was like, great, come to more events and we'll see each other more. Bye.
He told me that I did visually short circuit. He said after that, he said that I went and just said what I said after. And I ran out. He said I ran out. And I did. I was so flustered.
Was he trying to shoot his shot? I don't know. It felt like all night he was trying to, but he didn't.
And he wasn't trying to shoot his shot. He was trying to gauge my interest by asking that question. Like, he wasn't sure if I was interested in him. He wasn't sure if he was interested in me. He wanted to figure out by getting an answer for that question.
And I've been thinking, I spent all of Friday with a knot in my stomach thinking about it, like, oh my god, trying to replay every single moment of the whole night. And I'm like, what did I do wrong? Not what did I do wrong, but like, why did I run away without being like, yeah, let's see each other outside of these events? Oh my god. This message, I talked to one of my girlfriends, and she was like, message the board game friend and just be like, hey, can I have his number? I want to ask him something. And I did that over an hour ago, and he hasn't responded with the person's number, because I was like, ask him if you can give me his number. And he hasn't read it. I don't know if he has actually, because I don't know if Instagram shows you if someone's seen your message. A little update from that topic at the beginning of the last video. I am, as the young people say, cooked. We're both cooked.
We got in contact. I messaged the board game friend and got the info that Saturday.
So, with my friend's recommendation, I messaged the board game friend, right? And I said, "Can I have his number? Will you ask him if he'll give it to me?" And this guy doesn't respond until 8 p.m. And I think I sent that message around noon or 1 o'clock. And I spent all day checking Instagram being like, did he respond? Why isn't he responding? And I ended up going through that guy's follows, which is why, by the way, you should always private your Instagram accounts. And I found the guy's profile page. And I sent it to my friend, and she's like, "Oh, he's super religious." And I'm like, "Don't tell me that stuff. Like, he needs to tell me." Anyway, uh, the friend got back to me and was like, "Here's his number." And I texted him. I was like, "Hey, it's me. It's Catherine. I got your number from, your friend." At first, he was like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Why are you messaging me?" And I was kind of like, "Oh, I was just trying to figure out if you were trying to shoot your shot the other night." And he was like, kind of just trying to gauge, like, if I should. And I was like, "Well, I'm not interested. I mean, I got your number from a friend. How uninterested would I be?" And we just texted back and forth like the rest of the night until I think pretty close to midnight. And then on Sunday, because I had found out he was religious, I didn't bother him unless he texted me, which is fine. Or Saturday, maybe it was Saturday. We made a date for Monday because he took that day off work coincidentally. So the first date that we went out was November 10th.
And it's been like, so if we don't count that Saturday, we only count the Monday, so that's the 10th. Today's the 21st. It's been 11 days, and I think we've seen each other for like 6 or 7 of them. And we spend like all of our time talking.
So the Tuesday after our first date, I don't text him that much, even though I really wanted to because we were out for 9 hours and we couldn't get enough of each other. Um, that evening, he was like, "How many times did you pick up your phone wanting a message from me or wanting to message me?" And I was like, I was like, "A little." And he was like, "Well, do it." And he will too. So since day two of us talking, we've just never stopped texting each other. And since that day, um, I think we saw each other almost every single day after work.
And it's kind of crazy because to me, it feels like I've met someone who is exactly like myself. And I've always felt that I am like a great supportive and loving partner in most of my relationships, especially in the more recent years. Usually, the people I meet, they are not like that, or they are for the first little bit and they stop. So that's what I'm worried about. But this time, like, this person, as they're describing who they are and what they're like in previous relationships, as well as like me seeing their actions currently, I do see like this person is almost exactly like me in sense of like care and stuff towards other people, and like small actions that doesn't need to be asked, shouldn't have to be asked, but in with previous people needed to be asked. And they'll be like, "Why didn't you tell me?" Well, my answer is always like, "Why didn't you know?" Because it's pretty obvious.
Between the two of us, we had two catchphrases, not catchphrases, but phrases we used often. And the first one was part of the situation, which is you would think, that something is really obvious and doesn't need to be said. Um, because we were both experiencing stuff like that from our previous relationships.
Um, and it's really hard for me because that is all I've ever wanted in life, for someone to be as like supportive and loving as I am. But of course, like my mom was telling me last night, like still keep a guard. Like obviously be happy, but keep a guard in case like they change their minds, they change their actions after a few months, like most of the guys do. Um, yeah, so I almost don't want to go to Disney today because I'm like, I just want to be here when you get off work. But
I ended up leaving Disney early and driving back. Well, he was also driving back. And uh, the ride back from Anaheim is a little more trafficy than his ride back, so he got to go home for like 5, 10 minutes. And we met at Chili's, we ate yummy food, and then we went to Target to walk around. But I did end up seeing him that night because I was like, I called him and I was like, I want to see you tonight. And he's like, okay, let's do it. Let's go to Chili's because you're always talking about Chili's.
I'm gonna go. I need this time for myself. I want to go and read. I haven't been reading. I've been on the freaking same King of Scars book. I'm only halfway through. It's been like 2 weeks. But let's go to Disney.
So our relationship was very beautiful. We spent so much time together. We spent so much time healing each other from past traumas and past reactions created by previous not worthy people that we've dated. And we fell very quickly and very fast. Like all of his friends and family, like his coworkers, like knew about us, and he would talk about me all the time. And um, unfortunately, I was afraid to tell people. I only told my like three of my closest friends and my mom, and both of our moms actually knew about each other. And um, I found out tonight how much his mom likes me, and my mom really likes him too. So we spend all of our time together. I did have a few things planned in November. I actually drove to LA twice to see two shows that I had booked like months ahead of time. And I will talk about it later about how my anxiety went away with him. But I was so relaxed driving to and from those two shows. I didn't worry about, I looked it up, but I didn't like usual. I would like fret, like, where am I going to park? What if there's no parking? What if it's too expensive? What if it's sold out? Like, I did this with the Jonas Brothers concert. I have a whole video about the Jonas Brothers concert and the parking fiasco. Well, with these two events, I was like, it's going to be fine. I looked through my phone a little bit to see if I can find any pictures of stuff that, like, of examples of what we were doing and where we were. And I had so little screen time in the time that we were together. It just, this is the first person that I met in a really long time that I wanted to be more in the moment than anything else. Anytime we were together, I didn't know where my phone was. I was looking for it half the time just to make sure I brought it with me. Actually, I want to talk about our first date. We met at this ramen spot, and because you're told as a woman, never give a man your address unless you're sure, right? And I, he sent me the address when we were making the date, and he was like, "This is it. This is the one I want to go to." Because I was already like, "Oh, is that the one in that one plaza?" And he's like, "Yeah, probably." And I was like, I've never had a man send me an address without me inquiring for it first, and that was already a green flag for me. Like an attentive, not attentive, like it was like someone who notices things and takes care of them without being asked. There's a adjective for that. But this is the first example I've ever met of like a guy doing that for me. And that was already like a green flag. And I had texted him, I think I called him on my way that Monday to be like, hey, I'm gonna be a little bit late. The traffic light is down. And I think I texted him that time. And then he was like, okay, be safe. And then 15 minutes, no, maybe 10 minutes later, he calls me and is like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm pulling in like right now. I think I see you. And then I pulled in and I saw him. And I didn't realize at the time how that is just something that he does just to make sure that you're okay. And it's happened like one other time after that where he called me to make sure, like, you are a little bit more late than I thought you would be. Are you safe? Are you okay? Instead of being annoyed that I was late, because I was like, I'm so sorry you're late. Um, there was the red light, the signal was down. And he's like, no, it's okay. It's fine. I got here early. I wasn't supposed to, but I did. And he got there early. So we had ramen, and then after ramen, we didn't want to separate, like we didn't want to end our date there because all we had was a meal. So I was like, my mom wanted me to get food, bread from that bakery right there. So we walked across the plaza and went to the bakery and got some bread. And then still didn't want to end the day, right? And I go, I need to get gas for my car. Will you get in my car and drive to Costco with me? And so we drive, he gets in my car and we drive like down the street to Costco and I get gas. And then we're looking at each other after that and he's like, I need to get AirPods for my mom. Can we go inside Costco? And I'm like, yes. Look how much I'm smiling. And this is just date one. This is only like 3 hours in, less than 3 hours. And we get to the front, and his app isn't pulling up. Like the Wi-Fi is not working or something. It's not loading his Costco card. And I'm like, let's step aside. Like, let's step aside so other people can pass, right? And he's like, yeah, okay. And then he told me after that, usually, like if it's his ex or anybody else, other than family, I told him that he would have probably been like, no, don't tell me what to do, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm exactly the same way, but I don't feel that way with you, from you. Because how I told him was, we haven't antagonized each other enough to think the worst of the other person. And I think it was really positive that I was seeing him with a new slate, as opposed to some of my relationship. I might enter it with a not clean slate. Um, but with him, like, because all of our interactions so far have been so positive and so like green flag, that I I was approaching date one with, a clean, fully clean slate. And that's why I keep saying our relationship was so beautiful.
This is more of a mentally prepare with me than a get ready with me video. This is let's mentally prepare together while I do my morning skincare to probably never see the best person I've ever dated before. Again, what did I say? I just took off my bonnet, and yes, this is my morning hair, or my bed hair. So, the guy that I was talking about in November, we've been dating, and he is honestly the nicest man I've ever met, the most gentlemanly person I've ever dated. And I know that the bar is in hell. And I know on the flip side, a lot of women are like, this is bare minimum. I've been having this sort of care from my man since, we got married many, 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 many years ago. And I'm like, good for you. But that is not everyone's typical modern experience, myself included. I've dated a lot of bad eggs since 2020. And the ones I dated before, I love them, but they weren't the best. They were good. We were young.
So after Costco, we drove back to where our cars were, and I was about to get in his car. And like, I know, never go to a second location with a man on a first date. Share your location with all your friends and your mom. Like, my brain just wasn't gonna do that. And I brought like my bread and the stuff that I bought with me, to get in his car. And he was like deciding. We were like, what should we do now? Like, we want to keep spending time together. And he decided like, should we go to Newport Beach? And I was like, what's in Newport Beach? But okay, sure, why not? And it was a really hot day in November. Um, and I think I was like, you know what? Let me go take this food home real quick, and then I'll meet you somewhere, and then we can go. So I went home, dropped off the bread, left immediately. I think I like refilled my water bottle, and then we went to. I met him in the parking lot of the the brewery that we met at, and we went to Newport Beach, and we were driving around for a bit and just couldn't decide on where to go, like where to stop and get out and walk around. So he just kind of like picked a spot and then we got out. And we're just walking on the sidewalk and stuff and just looking around. We actually stopped in front of like this garden place that I had already closed for the night. Um, and then he just talked and talked and talked and talked. Oh, it was at this point that he divulged to me about his relationship history, some of his like small traumas that was, okay to share on the first date. And I did the same. So it was kind of our bonding, this talking and walking. We talked and then it got kind of dark and we headed back, but it was like driving back from like past Orange County. Oh, and there was a sign for San Diego that we kept seeing, like the freeway for San Diego. And I think me or him, one of us pointed it out, and I think it was me who pointed it out and was like, San Diego. And he's like, should we go there? And I was like, nah. And we were just kept joking about it. And during this drive, we were just talking and like chatting the entire time on our way there, right? And at some point, he was going to miss the exit or like the freeway transfer that we were supposed to take. And I was like, oh, the GPS says that one, like that one. Then he did it. And from, I think, maybe both of our past experiences, I've never gently told a man a direction, and I've never had a man gently just do it. I think I've always been like, oh my gosh, you're driving wrong, or you're gonna miss it, right? And the guy would always be like, I see it, gosh, stop yelling at me. And I'm like, it was just the most peaceful interaction. He told me at a later point in time that whenever he drives, it's usually to go to work in the morning and it's very tense. And he has to be like on edge and driving really fast, or not fast, but at a good speed to get to where you need to go. And anytime that he's driving with me, he might like not miss the exit, but cut it close. Because he says when he's driving with me, he's just chilling and relaxing and like not paying attention, but like just relaxing and enjoying the ride because we were spending that time together and we weren't in a rush to get anywhere ever. And it was always just, he loved driving with me. And oh my gosh, when I say I was so attracted to this man, just the way that he holds the steering wheel, like his hands were manly. And I don't even remember if it was that day or like, I know it was like all the other days that we were together. He would roll up his sleeves and his forearms, and like while he's driving, his forearms and his hand gripping the steering wheel and his watch. This is like the manliest man I have ever met. Like I was so attracted to him. Like I found him so handsome and manly and attractive. So we never bought anything while we were at Target, but we would often walk around because it was like a brightly lit place and you could just like walk around and just talk and stuff. And one time we were at Target and there were the toy like kid-sized basketballs and he was just holding it and like kind of like playing with it a little bit as he was walking away from me. And I looked him up and down. I was like, I find him so hot. And like, it's not that he had a dad bod, but he has like a tiny belly, which is like makes sense for someone who's not spending all day at the gym. He's in an office all day sitting or like standing. So, but I still found him just, I can't even. I told him at one point, just like when we were texting, and I was like, hey, I think I have a crush on you. It's because I do. And it was just, our relationship was so sweet. So we drove back through rush hour traffic and just took our time. We did get to use the carpool lane, which is nice. And we got back to where my car was. And we didn't get out. And we kept talking and talking and talking. And we did get lunch at like, I think 12 or 1. So it was like 8 or 7. And we were both like kind of a little hungry. And it was like 9. And at that point, we were like, we should both go home. We're both starving. I was about to get hangry. And I was like, in the future, let's just grab a snack and eat something so this doesn't happen again because we're not going home. We're just gonna keep talking, but at least we won't be hungry. And that was how our first date ended.
So I knew he was religious before we went out because my friend did a deep dive on his Instagram, and I taught him to private that because he doesn't need people knowing that information. And I asked him when we started going out, like, is this a problem for you that I am not? I'm like the least religious person I know. You know, I consider myself agnostic, but I don't really want to get into it. And he told me that because of his past, he realized that it's not as important as he thought it was, but he was fine with it. I was like, all right, but I understand how important it is. So please let me know once you've like come to the conclusion that it might be a problem. And on December 23rd, he let me know that it has become something that he cannot live without in his partner. So we had a little talk that night, and I basically said, like, how come you never pushed or asked me more than once? Because he only asked once, and he never followed up on it. And we were like talking about something else at the time, so I had an explanation of my answer, which was yes, of course, but there was like a more detail, and that was something that he does too, which is like instead of saying yes, he'll give me the reason and then he'll say yes or no. And that's like the only time I've ever done that, and he never got an answer, and that could have been why. Like, it wasn't enough, and I never pushed, and he never pushed, which upsets me now that I wish he did.
He told me tonight that he didn't push because you should go to church because you are following the faith and being all the stuff. You shouldn't go to church because it's an obligation or it's like a thing that you're supposed to do, which is like how most children are brought up. Um, and that's why he didn't do that.
But I was like, I would have done all this. Like, I'm gonna do all this because December was really busy for me. I went out of town. My dog died. All of that. And I basically told him like how I thought our relationship would go, and he kind of like nodded along with it. Like, he could see it happening. So the day after, I did the one thing that is incredibly desperate. I was like, I need more time. Like, I'm not ready for this to just be over like this. I just got back like 2 days ago, and like we're already breaking up. It's like we haven't seen each other in 2 weeks, and he said he needed to think about it because he immediately got sick, and he immediately had to travel and had family stuff. So we haven't seen each other since the 24th, and today is January 2nd. I had originally requested like, hey, let's just like see out the new year, the end of the year. Just like, we'll just still see each other and like act the way we act, and then say goodbye on New Year's Eve, or like New Year's the 38th, so the 31st doesn't get like boggled down because that's his mom's birthday. And he said he needed to think about it. So he's like, let's reconvene in January. And I'm like, January? Well, I'm not gonna say no to that. So what makes a gal like me so gagas over a guy like that? First of all, he is the ultimate gentleman when we were going out. And I know this is like bare minimum for some people, but to me, it is above and beyond. He would always pick me up at the door. My ex, I told him I wanted him to pick me up at the door, and he didn't do it until I said it. But this guy, he did it before I even brought it up. And the first time he did it, I was like, oh my gosh, I love that you do that. Thank you so much. And he opens every single door for me, and he doesn't let me. Like, one time I tried to reach for the car door, and he's like, no, stop. And this he's the first time we went out, he sent me the Google Maps link to the place where we're going the night before I even asked, which is amazing because like guys typically don't do that. And he sets the GPS up before he gets out of the car to pick me up.
So what he would do is he sets up the GPS of the location we are going, gets out of the car, walks to my front door, calls me to tell him I am here, and then waits for me to come outside. And my most recent ex would never do that. I had asked him, like, I need you to pick me up at the door. I don't like these guys who would send an I'm here text and stay parked in the driveway with their engine running, or at the curb with the engine running. this guy, this new person, I never had to ask. He just did it the first time he came to pick me up. And the GPS thing, I know so many guys who are like driving, backing out of the driveway, or like already heading towards a random direction before they're like, oh, what's the address? Or they're like inputting it while they're driving. And I'm like, can we please pull over? But this guy, he has a set before he picks me up.
And I know that people are gonna say this is love bombing. And I said in my November stories about how like people fall in love with me really quick, easily, and like every single one of my first dates have lasted like an entire day, and this happened with him too. And let's say he told me, a little bit after that it happened that like he is the same way, that people, they fall for him really easily because he's really personable. He's very, all the things that I said I was. And I was like, how the heck is that possible? We're the same. And it just, we got along really well, and a lot of our things were so similar, like it matched just the right way. And I think the bad thing is we were both obsessed with each other and just couldn't like get enough of talking to each other. I think for the first 2 to 3 weeks we saw each other like every single day that we could, which I know relationship people, advice people are like, don't do that, you're supposed to keep them wanting more. But I recently learned this phrase, and I didn't realize until I feel like I've been living by it forever. You cannot say or do the wrong thing to the right person. So no matter how you approach a relationship, if they are the right person for you, nothing you can do will turn them off. So all those people that you're playing games with, playing hard to get and stuff, they're not the right person for you, because if they don't like you at your most too much, they're not meant to be for you. And I've been living by that, and that's why I keep getting burned, and I dated way too many bad people. But it was amazing. It's hard to believe that we fell in love, but a lot of people who married do, in the first few weeks, they just know. Unfortunately, the religious thing did come up. Okay, I'm done with my skincare, so I'm sitting down now. Anyway, the religious thing, so I told him, like, I've never tried. I don't think I told him that. This is the stuff I'm planning to tell him tonight. Like, the most I can do is try. And if, you know, if you choose me, you have to live with the fact that maybe, like, it'll never happen for me, but I will do my best, right? And, like, people who are religious know that, like, if you don't feel it, you don't feel it. You can't force it. And I know that too. That's the most I can do. But he might not choose that because he said that's something that he thinks would be missing from his life. And we have to respect that and understand, like, what people want is what they want, right? I didn't finish telling about why I like him so much. From our first date, it's crazy. We went out. We went out for like almost 9 hours. So many of the things we said about ourselves to each other healed so many past traumas that we developed from the people we were with in the past. And all of those things that happened, our automatic response was, why wouldn't I do it this way? Meanwhile, we have both experienced from our exes that person specifically not doing it that way. But to us, like, he would say that he would do something for his ex, and I'm like, that's exactly what I've always wanted in my life. Or I would say something, and he's like, that's what I've always wanted. And it's crazy that like we matched each other so well in those ways, and I thought that was really beautiful.
So, our other catchphrase, which I like more, this developed over time, is why wouldn't I? Which is like, why wouldn't I do this for you? Why wouldn't I want to do this? Why wouldn't I feel this way? Why wouldn't I say this? It just didn't make sense to us. And like the response to that would be, you would think, because you would think everyone would think that way. But most people didn't, and like most people in our past didn't. And I don't think we were trauma bonding. I think we were just bonding. Um, this is a little bit of a personal story for him. Um, and both of these things happened in the same day. on one of the days, we were together like almost all day. I had said, I have a surprise for you, get in. And I drove him to the local like game shop. It's like a mainly D&D shop. And because he had been playing D&D with his friends, and I was like, look at all these dice choices. And he was so giddy and so happy. And that's how I feel when I'm at that store. And then I'm like, okay, okay, okay. I know you're gonna have a lot, okay, but also come with me to this wall and look at all the minifigs because you don't have a fig for your character. And he's like, this is overwhelming in the best way. And I'm like, okay, browse, have at it. And I go and look and browse at other stuff, and I would like look over at him. And this is the first time that we've ever gone out. I think on like a daytime. It's been a really long time since we go out in the daytime. And he's dressed like more casual because usually he's after work and he does more like a business casual. And I was like, this is the most casual I've ever seen you dressed, and I love it. I don't know if I would love it as much if I had seen him casual more often than not, but I really liked it. It was like he was wearing sneakers, he was wearing like a nice just like a sweater instead of like a button-up shirt or like something with a collar, and like instead of coat he just had like a jacket and he left that in the car, right? And every time he rolled up his sleeves. But I was looking over at him and he was just so giddy and so happy and lighthearted. I could feel his lightness, and I told him that night in text that the best part of my day was seeing how lighthearted and happy he was. And if we were in person, he probably would have teared up like I am now. He said no one has ever said that to me or thought that the best part of their day was my happiness. And this day really was special to me, to us. We went to the theater later that night, and we got there while there were trailers happening. And it's the seats where the armrests don't come up, so I was kind of sitting on him, um, just like, you know, and I put my head on his chest. And he's like kind of tired, and I'm like, just close your eyes and I'll wake you when the trailers are over. And he fell asleep. I felt his hands twitch, and I was so afraid to move because I didn't want to wake him until he woke up. And I was like, "Did you fall asleep?" He's like, "Yeah." And after we walked out of the theaters, and this is really personal to him, we were walking back to the car, and he stopped to tell me that moment for him, and he started crying, which made me upset. He said that was so healing for him that I allowed him a rest, to close his eyes, and that I wouldn't get mad about it because his ex used to be upset if he got tired. And he later told a friend about this, and the friend's girlfriend was like, I would be so mad if you fell asleep on our date. And I was like, after he told me that she said that, I was like, why would you be mad about it? There was nothing happening. It just made so much sense to me. That's why, like, why wouldn't I? Is our catchphrase.
Another thing that happened was I think it's actually day 4. I might have miscounted. Um One morning I was texting him in the morning and I had made a realization. I was like, I feel like you're very similar to me in these kinds of ways. And I like gave him an example. It was like, is this what you are like all the time? And he said yes. And then the moment that he said yes to that, inside of my body, I have these like glowing orbs of anxiety bouncing around inside my head, bouncing around inside my stomach. And I saw them all lift out like a sci fi movie, like aliens leaving. I saw them all lift out of my head and just go back into the universe. And literally, when I say my anxiety has been healed, I have not had anxiety since November 12th. So his emoji in my contacts is the little 2 stars, and we send that to each other for healing meanings. So whenever I say something to him that might like be really healing for him, he'll just send me a star, or I'll do the same. Just like You know, when somebody just matches you just right and like responds to you and treats you exactly how you've always wanted to, that's how this man has felt for me for the past, since November until December 23rd, when he told me that it wouldn't be enough. So whatever happens tonight happens. I made my peace with it on New Year's Eve. I did say I'm agnostic, and he did give me this for Christmas, and it's the reason I've been reading it. I put my hand on this, and I told him that I know we don't talk much, but I know you take care of me, and if this is not meant for me, please allow me to leave this in 2025 and do not bring this. I didn't say evil, but I said, please don't let me bring this bad into my 2026. I don't need turmoil from a man I met 7 weeks ago. That being said, I have prepared a whole long ass statement for everything I want to say tonight. I got it down to like about 10 minutes, but you know, with talking in between, it'll go longer than that. And usually anytime we spend time together, like 10 minutes ends up being 2 hours in reality, because just how much we enjoy spending our time together. So I'm prepared for either outcome. If, you know, it works out, he has to earn my forgiveness. And I know we're supposed to forgive. Everyone is supposed to forgive, but he has to be deserving of it. And if it doesn't work out, I've left it. Like, I am at peace with it. I understand. It's upsetting. It's sad, but I understand. Anyway, it's only 1 p.m. right now, and we're not meeting for another like 5 or 6 hours, so I will mentally prepare. I watched that back, all of that. And one thing I didn't finish touching up on was the anxiety thing. How I described it to him last week, when I thanked him, like I didn't thank him for it, but when I brought up like, I hope my anxiety didn't come back. And I wanted to go into more detail about why I think it went away. So with the type of person that he is, which is being so similar to the type of person I am, than the type of person my mom is, like I've been telling myself I need to date someone who's exactly like my mom and me, right? And he feels like he is. If I am juggling balls in the air and he's juggling balls in the air and he drops one, I'm going to be there to catch it, because that's the kind of person I am, that I got your back. And he's the type of person who will catch one of the balls I drop. And that is why I no longer felt like I need to worry about anything. And I've driven to the city of LA 3 times since then, and no sweats. So what I mean by no sweats, I usually have a lot of really bad driving anxiety. I'm like worried about traffic, worrying about people. I have bad going anywhere anxiety in general, where I'm like, where am I gonna park? Am I gonna get there on time? Like, what if I'm wearing the wrong shoes? What if I'm wearing the wrong outfit? All of this, it all literally went away. And like I said, I drove to LA 3 times and back. And usually I'm like sweating, I'm nervous, I'm like freaking out while driving. I cruise all 3 times, and it was amazing. I did get to talk with him on the phone for some of the drives, but like even the ones where I was by myself, I just blasting music and just driving and like sitting in traffic, and I'm like, it's chill. Usually I'm like, is that car gonna hit me? Is that car gonna hit me? Are they gonna let me in? Stuff like that. But honestly, like, my brain has been not empty, but so calm. And that's why I want to keep him. Last thing, I think. He has a really calming presence on me. And I asked like my best friends, and I'm like, have you guys ever known me to be calm? And they're both like, hell no, no way. He does this thing anytime like something happens, where he like holds me and says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how like exasperated are you? And with him asking that, I go from like a this to a this. And I think I'm like, when you're being hugged, like you just kind of smile and you're like, it's not that bad. I have you. And honestly, I want that for my life. Just If it's him, it's him. If it's not, it's not. I just don't want to start over with someone new.
I looked into this phenomenon a little bit, and I think that we just both calm each other's nervous system. The thing with him being able to fall asleep and with me feeling calmer, it's just we both were someone that the other third person trusted so much that just our nervous systems were so calm when we were together. There were some times where we'd be in the car, just sitting there together, and I would like just put my hand on his arm and just kind of like stroke it. And he would just immediately like feel tired, or maybe fall asleep if we were just sitting there talking.
Also, we have not been physical. The only things that we have done are hold hands and hug. And we're both in our 30s, so it's strictly an emotional connection. Unless you count holding hands as a physical connection, but there is no physical hormones messing up my brain this time. It's 5 o'clock and I'm getting dressed. I'm wearing 3 shades of green right now. This is a Uniqlo Heat Tech turtleneck, and I wear this like all the time when we go out. Just like a thin turtleneck, a thin Heat Tech with these are my size 27 shaving straights. I wanted to wear this blue, which is much lighter than this one. But this one smells like outside. Like we probably went on a walk and I forgot to like hang it up after. And then the Disney jacket, which I've washed a few times, but I freaking love it right now. It's like my favorite jacket. And then this, because it's really cold outside. I'm also thinking of bringing this like as a blanket scarf, but it's kind of dusty, so I'm like wiping it off with like wet hands. Yeah. Wish me luck. It's 9 p.m. Just got home. We were talking for 3.5 hours. His answer was no. He came to the conclusion and arrived knowing his answer. And we had a really long talk. And I asked really, really hard if he was sure. Because I knew the moment that he looked at me that the way he did, I would break. It just, you can't not receive a look like that and just feel so loved. He gave me back my poo, which he has seen many a boyfriend's rooms. Even though we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, you know, it was intense though. He told me that we are supposed to love God more than we're supposed to love each other. And because of everything I was saying and everything I was feeling, that it was very clear that he cannot move forward with me. And that I wouldn't understand unless I understood. And unfortunately, that's not how I work. That's not what I believe. And for me, love is enough. And for them, it's not. You're supposed to put God above all else. And that's not something I can grasp. That really upsets me because of the way we said goodbyes.
He allowed me to say goodbye for far longer than he should have, which of course I'm grateful for. He said goodbye way more times than he should have. He gave me the patience and grace that no boy has ever given me before. I think I called him back like 3 times before I finally let him leave. I was just like, one more forehead kiss, one more, say one last thing about us goodbyes. Just give me that. And he did. That's why we were for 3.5 hours. Other than obviously the ending, I wouldn't change a thing about our story. And this is really cathartic for me, making this love letter, and I've kept so many stories to myself. But I have one video of us when we were taking a photo in front of a Christmas tree, and I was recording it so I could take screenshots of it. And the way he looked at me while I talked, while I said like, "Oh, do this, do that." If I looked at it a few times the last few days, and I just, you can feel the love through his eyes. And I saw the love tonight, even though he chose